It's that time again, man. Forever summons everybody's favorite time of the year. When these babies come around, it's gonna be nothing but spice, you feel me? We gonna be having some crazy stuff, especially with this forever summon. And this one's actually, I think, the biggest one we've gotten so far. I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure this is the biggest forever summon that we have gotten to date, which is both good and bad. It means that there's a very wide selection of units, but at the same time, it makes it a little bit hard to get the very specific units that you want. So real quick, before we even get into the recommendations and everything, if you don't know what a forever summon is, you don't know at all how they work, I recommend watching this video that's popping up on your screen right now. I go in detail in this video talking about exactly how they work, what they do, so there won't be any confusion with this video. Because even though I'm going to recommend like 10 units or so, you can't get all 10. You can only get one of them. So if you don't know what I'm talking about and you're still confused, watch that video on how to forever summon. But if you already know, man, hey man, it's time to get into this good stuff. Now, the way how I always do these is that I'm going to come out and say it right off the bat. The units that you should prioritize really is up to you. If you really like a certain unit and you want them, you want to use them, you've been really wanting to play around with that unit, then I just recommend that you go for them. Let's say like you really want Sistina. You just want Sistina. You don't care about anything else. Then go with what's going to make you the happiest. You don't have to just go for meta. You can literally pick a character that's just your favorite if you want to and be vibing, you know, have your fun and all that good stuff. But for all my people that may want more of a direct answer or making sure that they can make their account as strong as possible, that's what this video is here for today. I was going to do this and split it up into new players and old players, but I'm just going to say it outright. I'm just going to recommend units. I'm not really going to be splitting them up into categories. And the first three that I'm going to talk about is the biggest three that I actually recommend that all of you guys go for if you don't have them yet. It's been the big three for the last forever summons and everybody knows it. And ladies and gentlemen, it's none other than the combo, the triple threat: Thetas, Vox, and Berwick. I think Berwick is starting to fall out of this list, in my opinion, just a little bit, just because there's other units coming into the game. More units are getting a lot more light nowadays, especially the newer units. But even with that being said, Berwick is still a monster of a unit. I've always called him the perfect unit because he is. Think about everything Berwick does. He's a damage dealer. He has 100% crit rate. He has damage buffs. He can arch gen for your team. He can even be used against water fights and still do absolute work. There's nothing really bad about Berwick, apart from you kind of need his true weapon, and I highly recommend that you get it for him if you are going to go for Berwick. But if you're looking for an attacker that kind of does a little bit of everything, you know, a little bit of arch gen, some damage buffs, and you kind of want a really hard-hitting fire attacker that's very self-sufficient, then you should look no further than Berwick, man. Berwick's a beast. He still is. I don't use him too much anymore because it's just really hard to fit him in my teams. But if we had 5 unit slots, I'm telling you, he would probably be in one of them all the time. Next is my boy Vox, and Vox really doesn't need any introduction. Vox enables you to have so many different team comps, and with his 100% crit buff and damage, it's just ridiculous. There's nothing else to say here. It's just so much that Vox has, and he's pretty much another unit that is almost perfect. Jack of all trades and excels at everything that he does. And then last is my boy Thetas. Now, Thetas is here for people who are getting into in-game content or want to tackle in-game content and you don't have a good taunt tank. Highly recommend Thetas because Thetas, for one, is the best taunt tank that we have in global still to this day. No one has really rivaled him or even tilted him out of favor at all. Literally, like, he is just the most superb tank that you could ever ask for. He has everything. Damage mitigation, he got that. 2 defense slots, he got that. True weapon that shouldn't even be in the game because how broken it is, and it pretty much nullifies any fight, he got that. You want a unit that gets art gauge just by taking hits, he got that. There is so much stuff that Thetas has going for him, and he is the Captain America of Grand Summoners. He is the shield to the KOBs and the shield to your team. But that's actually it for the top 3.
But what about Sistina? What about Lisa?
Well, I'm going to mention them too, but I do think that these 3 units are still the core in terms of just how powerful they are, how much they're going to help a new player. I think these are going to give you the most power early on in the game as a newer player or a player that just doesn't even have these units. Like, they're just so powerful and so good. But now we're done with the top 3 core units that I recommend that you go for if you don't have them. So now it's time to talk about recommended units from each elemental typing. Of course, like I said before, man, if you like some of these units, just because you like the design or whatever the case may be, then go for them. Because this forever summon, there's going to be 2 parts to it. So if you want to try to go for somebody in the first part, then go for somebody in the second part, you can do that. But without further ado, let us talk about the fire units first. And we already mentioned Berwick before, but man, I'm going to be honest with you, we're going to be mentioning, actually, I don't think I'm going to mention anybody here. I don't really find anybody like noteworthy. The only unit that I would say I would somewhat recommend is maybe more of a fire supporting unit. If you are into like fire nuking and stuff, like Fire Roy would be a amazing asset to have for any mono fire team or any fire nukes that you want to do, just because he has so much damage. And then Sandstone is also a really nice pick here. But the thing about Sandstone is that you can get her from the unit of choice ticket. More than likely, a lot of you already have her. So yeah, I would say Swick, but there's another unit I'm going to recommend later on that is pretty much Swick, but better. As for the water units, we talked about Vox, we talked about the boy Thetas, and on this one, I'm gonna be honest, the only ones that I could recommend is like Weaver. Weaver is an insane unit. He's so good. Has tons of archgen, tons of shielding, plus has a nasty water resist down, plus crit buff that he applies to the whole team. Not only do we have Weaver in this, we also have Water Malia, which Water Malia is amazing for anybody who wants to get into mono water stuff. Rosetta's still a fantastic unit, very dependable archgener, really good. Just you got to watch out a little bit because she is type B archgen. And our newest addition actually to this would be the girl Philia. Philia is a unit that I know a lot of people may want. She's actually not too bad. She is a defense buffer, and there's nothing else to really say about her. She's a defense buffer. She can help out your team defensively a lot, and highly recommend that you go for her if that playstyle kind of appeals to you. Moving on to my Earth units, we're going to recommend two of the Holy Trinity units, which would be Emira and Norn, which I think Emira is actually going to get on the unit of choice ticket next year. I could be wrong about that, but I think for the 4-year anniversary, she should get on the unit of choice ticket. She actually may already be on there. I just don't know. But Norn, amazing unit, literally needed for the mines, man. Palamecia, if you don't got Norn, you are going to be struggling. And she's still just an amazing unit, just overall, a really good unit just to throw on any team for support and all that. Amazing archgen, pretty solid damage. Norn's just an amazing all-around character. One of our newest additions to this list, which I think she was here last time as well, is our girl Sistina. Sistina is the reason why I did not recommend Swick, because Sistina is pretty much Swick but better. They literally do the exact same thing, except Sistina is able to give a barrier and archgen on her art, plus she's able to give the 100% physical damage up to the whole team, and she's able to reduce the enemy's damage resist by 30% with that amazing true art. She is really good, a fantastic unit. If you get her, to be honest, you can't really go wrong with selecting her. And this is going to be a fun one. I just want to point this out here. I don't recommend this pick, I'm going to be honest, but if you want a fun character to mess around with and just goof off with and just kind of see what they can do, even though they will need their true weapon in order to do it, that's going to be Eagle, man. Eagle's one of the coolest characters in this game to me because of his Avenger mode. It's very unique. It's only tied to him. And to be honest, with the recent trailer of Orville and Eagle fighting in the upcoming GS anime, it's got me extremely hype. And if I see Eagle, I'm going to be a little bit tempted to get him. Moving on to the light category, man, we have some really good stuff in here. I'm going to be honest. First and foremost, let's recommend Freed. I'm sorry, I have to do that every time. I know it's terrible how they treated our 1st-year anniversary unit. Lisa. Oh Lord, this girl. This girl is busted. I'm talking about the amount of stuff that you're able to cheese with Lisa in a composition is ridiculous. There is so much in-game content that Lisa can be thrown in, and she just makes it so freaking easy. She has so much value, especially if you learn the compositions and you have the equipment to make her work in different things. She is so good. I think this is more of a veteran pick though, personally, than a new player pick, because she is really good as a new player because she does offer archgen, equipment CT down, bunch of good stuff happening here for a new account. But I think it's a lot more appealing to us than it is for a brand new player, just due to the amount of stuff that, like I said before, you can cheese with her. She really is just a cheat code, and she's amazing at what she does. Orville is one of the only 100% defense ignore stacking damage dealers that we have, apart from a certain someone, which I'm going to talk about them too. He looks dope. He's one of the best looking units in the game, in my opinion. And I think his true art feels so powerful whenever you use it. Like after you stack him up with his ramping stacks, and then you pop his true art and you like just slam down with Orville's sword, and you see the lens flare, eye flash, and everything on him. It looks so clean. And it's one of my favorite true arts in the entire game. It just sucks that it takes him a while to get there. Another unit that I'm going to recommend if you're more into the mono light setups and stuff like that is actually the girl Victoire. Victoire is really good in mono light because of the amount of stat buffs and stuff she provides. I wouldn't recommend getting her though if you're not really planning on using her in mono light, but if you wind up getting her and you're kind of interested in trying out mono light and goofing off with it, maybe trying her with Saitama and doing some, nukes here and there, especially if you get her true weapon as well from the Rainbow Gem shop, you can see some pretty crazy numbers. I ain't even going front. And then moving on to my favorite category, my dark units. Straight demon hours in here, and there's some units that I definitely want to recommend. First and foremost, we gotta put him on the list. He's here, and my god, this guy is my favorite character in the entire game. The boy Batiste. You want damage? He got it. You want ramping damage? He got it. You want 100% attack buff plus additional modifiers on the true art? He got it. There is so much this guy does. And he is just, oh my god, he is so amazing. He's one of the flashiest units in the game, in my opinion, especially with his animations. I love characters that have unique weapon types almost. Like, he's a character that uses, I guess they would be called knives. There may be another terminology for it, but to me, he just throws out a bunch of knives. He does some really cool stuff with it, and it just appeals to me a lot. The only downside I would say for Batiste is that he's kind of a high investment unit. For one, you kind of need a team that is able to allow him to function. Not only that, you also need to be able to use him in harder content because that's what he wants to be used in because he is a ramping damage dealer. And also you will need to invest in one of his true weapons or even both of them. Me personally, I would only recommend going for one of them, but if you want to go for both, you absolutely can. So he is definitely a high investment unit and more geared towards the veteran players. But if you want to try out Batiste, you want a cool flashy unit, I'm telling you, you watch my mind streams, you watch the showcasing and stuff with Batiste, he's one of my favorite units in the entire game. Next one I'm going to be recommending is actually Commander Forte. Commander Forte, she literally is part of the Unholy Trinity, which consists of Dark Fin, Dark Cane, and of course Commander Forte. If you need her to complete your Mono Dark team, I highly recommend that you get her. But if you're not going to be using her in Mono Dark nukes, I wouldn't really recommend investing into this unit or even trying to go for her because she really wants to be on those teams. You can actually use her as a filler unit in other team comps and other nuke compositions, but I don't really think it's worth really going for if you don't already have the other two. And then the last unit that I'm going to be recommending here is another attacker and that is my boy Luan. Luan is kind of similar to Batiste in the sense that he is a unit that kind of wants his true weapon. Not only does he want his true weapon, he also wants his servant to be by his side, which is Chloe. So if you wind up picking Luan, I would recommend to make sure that you also have Chloe, because if you don't have Chloe and you go for Luan, you're going to be kind of lacking a little bit. But guys, that is going to be it for my recommendations for this Forever Summon. Of course, if you want to recap real quick, the top 3 to go for would of course be Vox, Thetas, and Berwick. And then if I was going to say 2 more, if I was going to do a top 5, I would put Sistina and Lisa there as well. But that's going to be it for this one, man. Thank you all for coming out. Tell me down below who you guys are going for in the Forever Summon. I wish you guys the best of luck and hope that you get the character that you actually want. But guys, thank you all again for coming out. It's been your boy Pete. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more. And last but not least, man, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.